Welcome back to another review, this time for the anime Dusk Beyond the End of the World, which had 12 episodes and was airing in autumn of 2025. Synopsis from any list. When growing tensions around AI spark civil unrest, Akira is caught in the crossfire when he protects his girlfriend from an assassin's bullet. Hundreds of years later, he awakens from cryogenic sleep to an unfamiliar world. As he struggles to come to terms with his new reality, he bonds with an android called Yuugure, who bears an uncanny resemblance to his girlfriend. Now he must ask himself what love means in a world where technology has changed the very fabric of society. So, I have a lot of thoughts about the show. Now, it has 12 episodes plus an episode 0 prologue, which I did not see whenever I watched the first 3 episodes. And in that prologue, we get introduced to what really happened before, the show really starts. Because in the start of the show, we have Akira. He is awakening from cryogenic sleep in a world that is different. It looks overgrown, something happened, natural disaster, war, whatever. Something, more or less destroyed at least the area we are in. And nature took back the world. At least as far as we can see. And the first character we get introduced to, apart from Akira, which is the brown-haired guy, is Yuugure, which we find out is an android, which is a blonde girl. Now, in the prologue, we find out there was some AI stuff happening. We get introduced to his girlfriend, Towa, and the story more or less follows Akira and Yuugure on a journey to fulfill Akira's promise, which was like, I'm going to find you, Towa, his then girlfriend. And that is more or less what we do. We go on an adventure in this new world and try to, keep this promise. And the first 3 episodes were, in my opinion, pretty good. They were well animated, there was some good fighting going on, the world was somewhat interesting, post-apocalyptic world, AI technology and stuff is more or less gone. We only have like remnants, even machinery is not really being used, which, could be an interesting idea. Now, the story continues, we get introduced to more characters, we get introduced to some, little storylines. We more or less have like little stories, 1 or 2 episodes where we get introduced to some characters. They more or less appear and then we do some kind of storyline and then they disappear from the story more or less. A couple characters stay in the story and it is pretty obvious from, whenever they get introduced that they are going to be somewhat important. And you probably can guess in what way. Now, for me, this show, it went further. It didn't really keep the, the polish that I thought the first 3 episodes had, especially the fight in, I believe, episode 3 or 2, which was really good. It didn't really get to that level anymore. There were some interesting aspects and some, characters that I liked. I don't really like the main character Akira because he feels like a very typical Japanese main character, which is like, eh. But there were some characters which seemed very interesting or, they were at least decent. Now, I have a problem with the later third of the show. And I, until like episode 9 or so, I was like, okay, it's maybe not as good as the first 3 episodes, but it's fine. It's, decent enough. It's something you can watch. And then we get to the last third, this story is more or less finished in those 12, or if you count the prologue, 13 episodes. And I did not like the ending at all. The last stretch, the whole show feels rushed. It feels like we don't really have any time to breathe, especially at the end. Everything just happens because stuff needs to be happening. The characters we get introduced to before, they don't really play a big role in the overarching story, which is like, I mean, fine, not everyone needs to, but I would have liked some more of these characters to be important, especially because some of them were in a position where they could have been important later on. But in the end, it just, for me, fell apart. The whole interactions between characters felt stupid. Decision making in some parts felt stupid. The reasoning for some of the characters was like, really? We had some stupid happenstance again. It felt really bad. It was so bad that at some point I got annoyed. I was sitting here watching the show and I was like, meh. I did not even want to finish watching it. Now, I'm not going to go into specifics because spoiler stuff, blah blah blah. But we had situations where we could have resolved, we have like an enemy, we could have defeated the enemy, but because of some reason we don't, even though we have a lot of logical beings in the show that, function mostly on logic. We don't want to do that, and then we have some other stupid stuff happening. A whole bunch of the story only happens because we have the typical, hey, I want to talk to you, but not now. I'm going to talk to you tomorrow. And it's like, why? What are you? You have nothing to do. There's no technology. You don't have to rush anywhere. It's not like you are working. You are just living and breathing. Why are you not talking? It was very frustrating. Probably going to yap about that a little bit later. The whole review is a lot of yapping. But yeah, after the rating, I'm going to go into some of the stuff that I really found stupid. Let's see. AniList has it at 63%. My anime list has it at 6.52. Again, the first 3 episodes I really liked. I saw a lot of potential. It could have been something similar to like Frieren, not in the quality, sure. But, explore this new world, get to know new characters, get some characters to join you, and then they leave. Have a journey-like experience. But that is not what we got. So for me, the first 3 episodes I gave like an 8, because, again, there was some really... The fighting was really nice. We did get another fight scene that looked pretty good. So I'm not gonna... that one pretty good. I would recommend at least, looking into those ones if you are interested at all. Apart from that, I would give it a 6 out of 10. It was very frustrating. The ending tore down the rating for me here. I can't really explain. I don't have the words for how annoyed I was watching this. Now, I'm going to go into some spoilers. You have been warned. Spoilers. Now, at one point, we have the third character, which I did not even mention, which I already forgot the name, which is sad. But we can find out. Easy enough. Amoru. Now, we have this whole situation where something happens and our two main characters, they need to be cared for a long time, and Amuro cares for them because the whole point is that she wants to LC, she wants to have a three-way relationship. Fair enough. And it was very touching. Very touching. She sacrificed a lot of her time. She grew up. She was more mature. She had really long hair. She cut it and got another batch of long hair. You know, very touching. I liked that. And then we have our two main characters wake up again. And we have this situation because the whole time Akira's like, I only want to do a marriage, which is one-on-one, where meantime the LC system is like a, you know, poly marriage, as many as you want, in some kind of relationship, marriage-like. It's more family-like, I would say. And it seems like what we find out later, that Akira is not really opposed to potentially getting an LC with Amuro in it. But instead of telling her, he's like, meh, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not gonna be, you know, tell you. And she then is also like, yeah, I don't want to, you know, no. She then gets manipulated, and that is the whole reason why we have to then do the whole fighting shit, because she is the one that has the information. Everything in the end happens because they were unable to talk to each other. Everything. The whole fight at the end, the whole situation, everything happened because they did not talk at the end. It is insane how shit this is. Now, we did have a situation before as well with Akira and Yuugure, where there was some secret about Akira that Yuugure did not tell him because why does she need to? And he's like, why did you not tell me? She then is like, hey, okay, let me explain. And he's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to listen. This drives me insane. Then don't ask. Don't ask. Just go. Go away. However, then we have this whole fight scene, which I found very stupid, especially because Amuro is then an enemy. She goes to... There are multiple androids. These androids are very strong. They are combat-oriented androids. She then gets, I believe, an android body and comes across one of the androids. That android somehow is not recognizing that this could be an enemy for some reason. I don't know how. They are combat specific androids, but sure, I guess they are stupid now. Whatever, stuff happens. We have to fight them. It doesn't really matter. Eh. The fight itself was also very stupid, but sure. Whatever. Then we have the big bad. Now the big bad is like, oh, I'm doing this stuff. I'm manipulating these androids. We have a third android. There are in altogether 12 androids, or were. And, you know, he is manipulating these two androids. And then we have a third android, which we did get introduced to before. And she has this big bad at gunpoint. And it's like monologuing. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, who's the trigger? Who's the trigger? It doesn't matter what his reasoning is. Nothing matters. He's manipulating these androids that are very important to the survival of humanity and the planet. Just get rid of him. She does not. He then gets defeated. It's like, why? Now, that was infuriating. However, we did have a little fight later on between these two, where, you know, she came up on top and she was very ruthless, and I liked that quite a bit. I have to be honest. But we didn't need that at all if you just pulled the trigger. Maybe it's like, hey, I don't need to because, you know, I am so powerful. he can't really do anything against me, so I always have the upper hand. Sure, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, this all did not need to happen if Akira just talked to Amuro, but sure. Then we have this big fight between Yuugure and this android, which ends in them headbutting each other, but it doesn't really feel like combat androids headbutting each other. It feels like children just, you know, head on head, which is like very strange. And the whole situation, because we have this combat android who has now the personality of two people in it, sure. And we are across this android, Yuugure and Akira are. They see this android. Yuugure sees the eyes. The eyes are a very clear indicator that something is wrong, and does nothing whenever this enemy approaches Akira. Akira is very important to her. She does nothing, which ends in him being stabbed, which is also stupid because the android doesn't really want to stab him because she does not really care, and Amuro doesn't want to stab him, which is like, okay, because she got hacked, I guess, I don't know. Which then leads to, you know, we have this whole fight, this headbutting. We are led to believe that, you know, this enemy android is dead and the two personalities inside are dead too. And then we have Yuugure sacrificing her life to save Akira, and now she's dead, but she's not dead. We can help her, we can save her last second, and the other two are also not dead. We can also save. It's like, why? Everything just needs to happen to have this ending, which is like, why? You could have just have an interesting story. We had this whole story, how everything happened, how this war happened, how the AI happened, how, you know, the first step, which is the femto blood, and all of that, in my opinion, very interesting. You could have, you know, bring it that in that story, a little bit here, a little bit there. Oh, we did, you know, we wanted to have androids in the world. We wanted to, you know, make the world better, but people don't like androids. So our idea is, hey, we elevate humanity to something cybernetic, and then they are more open to androids. Hey, cool. You know, bring that in. Okay, first we have this specific idea that we make them more android-like or more cybernetic, but it didn't work. Okay, we had an idea here, did not work. We tried this, did not work. We were at an impasse. Okay, sure. And then we get across this femto blood, and it works. Everyone is like cybernetically connected, and okay, everything is good. But then we find a flaw, and then we have to try to get rid of the flaw, but we can't because of the blood. Okay, what do we do now? Now we have an AI, and we try to get, you know, maybe the AI can help us, and then the AI war happens, and then we have to defeat the AI, which means we need to make the androids, and this is how the 12 androids appear or were made, and they then go fight. You could have sprinkled this whole story inside these 12 episodes. Easy. Because the whole point of the show was we need to find Towa for the promise. That is the point of the story. At the end, we find Towa, and we could have done the very end where we find her easily enough. And on the way to that, we could have sprinkled in the story of our Akira, the story of Yuugure. We could have done all of that without having to ham-fist this big conflict at the end. And all just because the big bad wanted to apologize to Towa. Somehow. Yeah, so again, there could have been a very nice story. Nothing that I would have been like, oh, this is the next big thing, but something decent. Something like Fluorite. I like Fluorite. I don't know what the subtitle is of that anime. And that was an original. This one is also an original. We could have gotten in that way something very decent, something you can show other people. But because the ending is so ham-fisted, I really did not like that.